8 months.
Okay. Hey, let's talk more on immigration and, importantly, social mobility, because I'm joined by Hashi Mohammed. He's the author of People Like Us. That's a book about social mobility, immigration, and, of course, his own journey. Yeah, his own journey from refugee to a top barrister. Now, we'll say to our US friends, that means he's a big-time attorney. I'm also joined by Flavilla Fongang, an award-winning French Cameroonian businesswoman and founder of the Three Colours Rule marketing agency. I will also add, Flavilla is also the founder of Black Women in Tech. Welcome to both of you. A real pleasure and privilege having you with us. Normally, Flavilla, I would start with women because that's how I was raised. My mother would kill me if I didn't. But I want to start with Hashi, and I want to ask you, how important was social mobility and immigration in your life?
Thank you very much for that very kind introduction, Aaron. Yes, it was a big part because, you know, if I hadn't come to the United Kingdom when I did, arguably everything that you've just said about me and what I do could not have been realized. So immigration is a real bloodline for people who want to make better for themselves and their families. But also it's that kind of new blood that you need in the system, wherever it is in the world, that kind of rejuvenates a society, rejuvenates a community, but crucially in a business world, it introduces a whole new way of thinking, ideas, and much more besides. So freedom of movement and movement for the purposes of bettering one's chances in life is a really important part of the human condition.
Indeed. And Flavilla, you're also someone who said that you've benefited from immigration, right? But again, correct me if I'm wrong, you were born in Paris, weren't you?
Correct. Yeah, I was born in Paris, and when I came to London now, gosh, you know, in 2002, a long time ago, you know, we take for granted the fact that we can just move around. And I think that's one thing that we realize how much we need to stay connected. And more than ever, this situation has made us realize that, you know, things can get out of control. And what can we do to still be able to achieve our dreams and follow how far do we want to go? And that's one thing we're still trying to figure out, how to move around. And it is disruptive.
Yeah, well, actually, on that point, Hashi, so much we've had so much of an impact on, I guess, social mobility by COVID-19. How concerned are you that this virus could, well, not put a stop to it, but certainly hinder social mobility for now?
It will be a huge impact on social mobility, both in the UK and abroad in the world, because it just means that people aren't able to actually pursue their purposes and their dreams and ambitions. I mean, the example that you just gave about India is a classic one. If you're an Indian who's working and who's been educated in India for quite some time, and you have the interest of going abroad to gain the right experience to then go back and work in the industries that you are professionally qualified for in India, it means that there is now going to be a big gap in your knowledge base. There's going to be a big gap in your experience, and therefore you're likely to be a lot less effective when you're working in India, a lot less effective in terms of what you're able to provide for that community and for yourself and your family. So I think that this period is going to be a very big issue for the foreseeable future.
And Flavilla, you know, the crisis has affected everything from how we work and play, but it's also affecting the building blocks of life. I'm wondering, do you worry that there'll be a COVID generation out there that will miss out on all these opportunities?
I don't think so. Actually, I think slightly differently, probably because I work in technology, and I think that we've seen how technology has helped us stay connected. I think we need to evaluate exactly what we're focusing on. I think if we look at the Western world has always been appealing to India, Africa, and other places, and students want to be able to say, I've studied in London or I've studied in America. But it doesn't mean that you can still not get that knowledge. You know, you've seen now teachers and professors who are moving online to teach. So obviously we're moving for a phase which is obviously temporary until the problem is solved, but that doesn't mean that that cannot be done gradually. So for me, the way I see it is that we need to think different in terms of how things are being done and not think about the normal, go back to the normal, but think about the new normal. Because from my point of view, I've worked with people from around the world. So now it means that the world is our oyster. Talent can be found anywhere and it don't need to be sitting next to us. And that is a good thing.
Well, that's interesting, because I had a question for you about how can technology bridge the gap with immigration and social mobility, but I can just tick that one off the list now. But Hashi, I want to ask you this. You know, you probably heard me at the top of the program mention President Trump putting a pause on some green cards and other visas until the end of this year. Do you think some countries, and not just the United States, are using this crisis as a It's a bit of a cover-up, if you will, to, I don't know, to restrict immigration.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about the Trump playbook, whether it's the ban on Muslims or whether it's the ban on Mexicans that he doesn't want to come, there is no doubt that politically this period of time will give people cover for the purposes of ensuring that they are able to put together restrictive policies. But that will come out in the wash because at the moment they have restrictions on Europe and in the United Kingdom. How much longer can they sustain that? But crucially, if you think about the universities in America who charge extraordinary amounts of money for tuition fees, they will desperately need those Indian students. They will desperately need the African students, all those people who are paying huge amounts of money to study in America. So it may give him cover in the short term, but I promise you in the long term, the American economy is also going to be hit as much as those people who are trying to get the right sort of experience to become more socially mobile.
Yeah, Hashi, let me just stay on that point, though, because for our American friends watching, putting the student issue aside at the moment, for immigration to go and work in the States, the United States, again, just one example here, the world's biggest economy, has lost 45 million jobs in, what, something like just over 3 months. What would you say to an American who's lost a job? How do you justify further immigration when you've got 45 million people out of work that have got to get back into work?
Well, I would advise any American watching this to listen to what Flavia has actually just been saying in relation to the power and the control that technology has in terms of changing the world today. I would listen to her in terms of just thinking about the new normal. I would also very much say very simply to an American watching this, that if you think that your chances and your prospects are going to be bettered by a government that says we will not have any more immigration, effectively America first, then they are lying to you, and that's not going to happen. So you need to start thinking about what your skills look like in the future. You need to start thinking about what makes you a different employee in the post-COVID world. You need to start thinking about the kind of experiences and the travel experiences that you might need to be able to be better. And then you need to start thinking strategically about the future gaps in the market that you could potentially fill and that you could potentially make that much of a difference. But one thing is also clear, closing the borders doesn't mean you're in a better position. It never does.
Okay. And Flavilla, let me ask you this, because we certainly see the benefits of immigration and from stories like you and Hashi, but give us your thoughts on the benefits for the country that people move to.
I think people always have this negative perception of what migration is or immigrants. People who come and move to another country, they have highly driven. They want better things for themselves, so they work twice harder, even sometimes even 3 times harder. And there's this perception that they actually people that actually are not driven. It's actually the opposite. There are people who start businesses. There are people who create businesses. So people need to have this different perception of what it means to come to another country and hoping for the best. People come from big dreams. And that is perception that needs to be changed in terms of how we see things. And really, that will help us, move forward. I think we need to move forward in terms of what the new normal is going to be, how we can use technology to actually have talent across the world, but also have clients around the world and do things the better way, in a new way.
And just very briefly, should governments and corporations, business, should be doing more, if you will, to support and protect social mobility in this particular time?
Yes, I think there's a lot of things we need to do. Be around, first of all, people obviously who have not obviously doing things that physically where they have to be next to someone. If you are a beauty therapist, you have to be next to somebody. But there's now a new chance for people to learn new skills. What is being done around education and providing support people to reskill and do new things. So I think that's an element where government can support companies and allowing people to employ and support young people who obviously need more help than ever.
Flavilla and Hashi, how the time flies. There goes 10 minutes. I could have another 10 with both of you. I've got to wrap it up. We are so appreciated. You both stay safe and well, and we'll check in with you soon. Thank you. Thanks so much.